Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Triple Double Nation. Today we'll be covering 10 NBA players who should not be in the NBA. Let's get into the video. Every NBA team has at least one scrub on its roster. That said, if you're currently earning a paycheck as one of the 494 players in the association, you must be doing something right. But no pro sports league in North America overpays its players more than the NBA. Sure, the NFL and MLB have had some historically bad contracts, maybe none more infamous than Bobby Bonilla, but the NBA still takes the cake when it comes to wealthy team owners shelling out millions of dollars for subpar talent. Hey, at least Bonilla was a 6-time All-Star in his heyday. With the NBA salary cap surpassing $100 million this season for the first time though, more below average players are making exorbitant amounts of money than ever before. And when you consider their on-court production, the numbers are truly staggering. Still, for as many as overpaid players as are in the NBA today, there are plenty who will get clowned on for a pedestrian season-long performance. Some of them you may have heard of, while others remain largely anonymous as they ride the pine throughout the 2018 and 19 campaign. Shout out to the guys earning their paychecks, but obviously we aren't here to celebrate them. We're here to honor ineptitude at the highest. So after weighing their overall statistical output against their financial impact, these are the 10 worst players in the NBA right now. Number 10, Gorgui Dieng. After showing continued improvement over his first 3 years in Minnesota, Dieng played his way into the Timberwolves starting lineup during the second half of the 2015 and 2016 season, and packed with his best numbers in 2016 and 2017, just in time to land a new 4-year contract for a whopping $64 million. And yet it's funny how he hasn't been the same player since. The former first-round draft pick out of Louisville in 2013 has quickly declined, returning to a reserve role behind Karl Anthony Towns and Taj Gibson. At 5.7 points and 4.1 rebounds per game, Dieng should enjoy what he's making now because we doubt that we'll see that kind of money again from another team. Number 9, Miles Plumlee. Another Duke prospect who hasn't panned out in the NBA. The older brothers of Nuggets forward Mason Plumlee has yet to average more than 5 points and 5 rebounds over his 9-year career, but fortunately for him, he plays for a Hawks team that's one of the worst in the NBA. Plumlee only sees the floor 9.6 minutes per game, so it's not surprising that his numbers are what they are. Of course, when you're paying someone $12.5 million per year, you'd like to think that you could get a little more out of them than 4.4 points and 2.2 rebounds, particularly from a guy recruited and schooled by Coach K. Number 8, Cristiano Felicio. Felicio isn't quite as overpaid as many of the other names in this list, but he's still pulling in $8.5 million this season. In fact, the 6'10" Brazilian is having the worst year yet after a career best 5.6 points in 2017 and 18. He'll be under contract through 2020 and 2021 thanks to a 4-year, $32 million deal, so the front office should have plenty of time to regret the mistake it made on a guy who went undrafted and has spent a good portion of time in the G League. There's a reason after all why Chicago is one of the 3 worst teams in the East and will be a contender for the number 1 pick in this year's draft. Number 7, Timofey Mozgov. When Mozgov inked a 4-year, $64 million contract with the Lakers during the 2016 offseason, things were looking up for the Russian big man after winning a ring with the Cavaliers. Despite averaging only 6.3 points and 4.4 rebounds per game, but Mozgov would never develop like the team's former front office of Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak had hoped. No wonder they're no longer in charge. After 1 season with the Lake Show, he found himself traded to Brooklyn. Since then, he has been shipped to Orlando, where he has yet to play due to an injury. At this point, we're not sure if Mozgov will ever see the court again, but for a cool $16 million, he's living the good life. Number 6, Ian Mahinmi. The Spurs have had a long history of drafting well under general manager R.C. Buford, but Mahinmi certainly isn't one that they'll remember fondly after selecting him with the 28th overall pick in 2005. The Frenchman has managed to bounce around the league with the Wizards making his 4th NBA team in 11 seasons, but his minutes have shrunk ever since he had a breakout year with the Pacers in 2015 and 16. Now with Washington after agreeing to a $64 million deal in 2016, Mahinmi battled injuries before playing in 77 games last season, but even when he's healthy like he has been, the 32-year-old hasn't exactly made an impact since arriving in the nation's capital. Number 5, Luol Deng. For much of his 10-year stint in Chicago, Deng was known not only as the go-to scorer, but also as one of the league's best lockdown defenders. And while the two-time All-Star continued to be productive on both ends of the floor during subsequent stops in Cleveland and Miami, it wasn't until he landed a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Lakers in 2016 that things started to go downhill. That season, Ding was benched to give LA's young core, specifically rookie Brandon Ingram, more playing time, and things only got worse in 2017 and 18, with the former Duke standout playing in just one game before he was bought out in September. 9 days later, he signed with Minnesota, but so far his time with the underachieving Timberwolves hasn't been all that successful at 6.6 points and 2.9 rebounds per game. Number 4, Bismack Biyombo. Taken 7th overall in the 2011 NBA draft, Biyombo is one of those players who has seemingly been living off his draft stock for the last 8 seasons. The undersized Congolese center has never averaged more than 6 points and 8 rebounds, yet he somehow managed to procure a 4-year, $72 million deal with the Magic in 2016. Don't ask us how, because his numbers have only declined since. Returning to the team, he got his start with thanks to a 3-way trade last summer. Biyombo has been putting up some downright pedestrian numbers for the Hornets this season. Nonetheless, you gotta be impressed by a guy who only plays 15.3 minutes a game and makes $17 million a year. That's practically highway robbery, even by NBA standards. Number 3, Joakim Noah. It's hard to believe that it was only 5 years ago when Noah was named the league's Defensive Player of the Year after serving a key component of Tom Thibodeau's teams in Chicago. At his best, the two-time NCAA champion was recording 12.6 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 5.4 assists per game. Pretty good for a guy who has always been more known for his defense than his offense, but it wasn't until he signed a 4-year, $72 million deal in 2016 with his hometown Knicks, which many fans chalk up to be the curse of Phil Jackson, that his NBA career took a turn for the worse. After spending time in the G League and getting into a heated exchange with the then Knicks coach Jeff Hornacek, he appeared in only 7 games last season before being released by New York prior to 2018 and 19, with the franchise forced to eat the remaining $37.8 million left in his contract. Now relegated to the bench on a lowly Memphis squad, the 33-year-old has been contributing meagerly for the veterans minimum since December. Number 2, Ryan Anderson. Anderson just joined his 6th NBA team in 11 seasons, but no one could have expected him to fall this fast. And to think that the sharpshooter was named the league's most improved player in 2012, point blank, Anderson's game this year has been anything but sharp. He's scoring a pitiful 3.7 points per game in 18.5 minutes, and his 3-point shooting is down to a dreadful 20%. Considering he used to shoot nearly double that from beyond the arc, something has seriously gone wrong with his stroke. Plus, no team wants to take on that awful $80 million contract the Rockets handed him in 2016. That's why after acquiring Anderson prior to the 2018 and 19 season, the Suns shifted to Miami right before the trade deadline. Because with $41.6 million still owed to him through next season, this is one has-been no team wants on its roster. Number 1, Chandler Parsons. Boy oh boy did this guy win the lottery. Earning $24.1 million this season, Parsons is by far the worst player in the league when you consider his overall value and how much cap space he's eating up for the Grizzlies. Since his days in Houston and Dallas, his scoring output has been cut in more than half, with the former second-round draft pick down to 5.7 points per game and barely even 1 rebound. Next year, he's owed more than $25 million before he comes off the books until 2020 and 2021. You can bet on Memphis sucking with this financial albatross off the roster. This brings us to the end of our video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future.